Hi, my name is Eleanor Serrano, and this is my 10 Little Indians theme project. Starting off with the story and the theme, the story that I chose is a search engine, which starts off basically about Corliss, who is a college student, and she loves poetry books but would never pursue it because she wants to be accepted by her family. Now, one day she walks into a library and finds a book about spoken Indian poems and realizes that the author of it is also spoken Indian. So she goes on this vision quest to find this author, as not only does her tribe not know who he is, but she wants to find someone who has basically won in her interest and see how well that he's doing. Now, the theme that I chose that I feel like correlates really well with the story is identity, as it's about Corliss and Harlan Otwater and basically how they try to figure out who they are in this world and what they want to do with their life. Now onto the quotes. The first quote that I chose is on page 13, and the picture that I chose to go with it is a picture of this elderly lady telling stories to younger kids. And the reason why they correlate well with each other is because Indians think of themselves as the best storytellers of the world. Next on page 14 is a picture of this Jesuit priest who's holding God really close to him. And it correlates well with the quote that I've chosen to go with on page 14, as Corliss finds not comfort in her friends and family, neither God, but she does find it a lot in poetry. Next on page 15, I have this picture of a man who's by himself on a cliff looking down onto a city, and I correlate this with the quote as Corliss feels that she's destined for something higher and better and more powerful, but she feels like she's going to achieve this by herself. Next is later down on page 15, where Corliss feels like every time when she's looking in a mirror, she doesn't see herself, but she sees somebody different. But she's still able to relate and correlate herself to this person. And then the picture I chose is this girl who's looking in a mirror, who she can still identify as herself, but it's not actually her. Next is on page 24, where Corliss begins her vision quest, and she's thinking about Harlan Otwater, and he seems like this immodest, highly sacred poet, but no one's ever heard of him. And the picture that I chose is basically this person. We know that it's a person, but we don't know who it is because we don't have enough information on them. Next is on page 28, where Corliss is talking about how her life is basically an autobiographical epic, and she relates it to Odysseus, and she relates it to everybody else, how everyone is basically making their own human epic. And the picture I've chosen to correlate with this is Odysseus, as he is in the middle of his epic too. The next quote I've chosen is on page 31, where Corliss is talking to the homeless man, and they talk about who he was and who he is now. And of course, I put a homeless man on the side of the road, and it correlates well because it starts off talking about how he became homeless and he lost everything, but he got the one thing that he wanted, which was basically the kindness of strangers. Now on page 41, Corliss is explaining to Harlan how she feels like if she were to write poems, she would feel trapped. And basically there's a picture of this nice pretty cage, which is basically what Corliss likes to do, and she's inside of it, but she's trapped. And later on, I feel like I added the second part of this quote because I also feel like it kind of correlated to it too, where Harlan says how he used to write poems because he wanted to feel belonged. Next on page 49, the quote, "Never pretend to be an Indian when you're not." It basically works really well with identity, as you can see, the person who has like a mask over their face doesn't know how to feel like who they are because they have been pretending to be something that they're not. Now on the last page, Harlan Otwater asks Corliss what kind of Indian does that make him. And it's really, once again, he's questioning who he is, as he thought he was like this ordinary guy once again. And I put the picture of like a girl sitting in the grass thinking like, who is she? Like, what am I? I think it really ties in really well with identity. Now, next are my sources, and I wanted to add a lot more quotes because I found a whole bunch, but I did not have enough time, nor do I have like any more room. But thank you for listening. I hope you have a good day. Thank you for your time.